The NATO summit kicks off in the Netherlands with Canada's Prime Minister spending the day talking up the country's defense spending as the U.S. president demands more.
He's been focused on making sure that all members, Canada included, of NATO pay their fair share, carry their weight. I think we are now doing that. We've made major investments in defense in recent months. We're now at the NATO 2%. We're committed to accelerating that.
Mark Carney is committed to hitting the NATO 2% of GDP on defense spending target by the end of this fiscal year, but it's widely expected NATO will raise that target to 5% at this summit. Foreign Minister Anita Anand says Canada needs more information before committing to anything further.
It's not only a question of the amount, whether it is an additional 1.5% or an additional 3% overall. It's also a question of how you break it down. Will there be flexibility in about 1.5%? Will there be a mandatory percentage increase at certain points in time?
Benjamin Zyla has researched NATO burden sharing for well over a decade and argues percentage of GDP is not an ideal measure of NATO contributions.
You make an investment into an organization, that doesn't necessarily mean that the organization performs well or that the organization achieves its objectives. That's a very different way of measuring burden sharing.
Zyla points to Greece as an example. The Mediterranean country consistently spends over the 2% target, but sent just 175 soldiers to the war in Afghanistan. Over 40,000 Canadians were deployed in that war. NATO itself determines what forces and capabilities it may need, and Zyla says Spain has been arguing how much each nation contributes to that matters more than spending.
It argues essentially it doesn't really matter so much of how much we invest into the alliance. What actually matters is what capabilities we as a single NATO member state can actually make available to the alliance.
In Ottawa, Xiaoli Li, City News.